Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing really well. A little bit of a change of scene. Welcome to my sofa. I thought I would just make this a little bit more of a cozy sit down and chat. It is the most horrific weather outside. I've got my cup of tea and I'm just going to be answering some of your house move / house buying questions. So before I crack on with all the house stuff, I did promise you an update on the e.l.f. mascara. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then go watch my video from last week. I'll have it linked up here. But I mean, I'm wearing it today and I still don't like it. I just really don't like how it applies and it smudges quite easily on me. I haven't got any mascara on my lower lashes today, and that's basically because I can't put any on my lower lashes without it smudging everywhere. So yeah, the e.l.f. mascara is a bit of a fail, I am afraid. So the hunt continues. If anyone has like a holy grail mascara that they absolutely adore, then please do let me know. I would be much appreciative. But anyway, yes, house stuff. Now, if you are new to my channel, then you may not know this, but I have recently moved house, and those of you who are not new to my channel will know about it because I have not stopped banging on about it for the last few weeks. And I know this is a little bit different from the content that I normally put out on my channel, but I did have a few comments and things just saying that it would be really handy. And I found watching these kinds of videos so helpful in just the house buying process and leading up to house move and all that kind of stuff, because it's very different listening to somebody who is not an expert in house moving or isn't, you know, an estate agent or somebody like that, kind of talk through their experience of it. So yeah, I hope this will be really helpful for you guys. If it is, then do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It'd be so much fun to have you. And yeah, let's just crack on. So I thought I would go through my general tips and advice and things that I learned as somebody who literally knew nothing about house buying, which is ironic considering I've moved around a lot in my lifetime, but obviously I was never really involved in that process, so you know, I just kind of packed up my stuff and carried it to the car. I also have some questions from you guys that you sent me on Instagram, so I will go through those afterwards. So yeah, if you ask me a question, then stay tuned because I promise I will answer it. So the first bit of advice that I have is, if you are able to, keep an eye on the housing market and be a little bit picky about when you move. We were really lucky that our flat was just on a rolling monthly contract in terms of the rent, so we could be a little bit choosy about when we really were like, right, then we're gonna move. And my husband was amazing at keeping just an eye on things and how they were going, and we noticed that house prices were generally pretty low, which meant that they were probably gonna go up pretty high over the next, you know, few months. And so we actually ended up buying right in the dip, which was really good timing, it turned out, in the end, because house prices have since rocketed up and it's much harder to buy. So if you are in that position, which I do appreciate may not be the case, not everybody has that luxury, but if you do, then exploit it, because you can save yourself thousands of pounds. Something else that we found really useful in the process, and wasn't actually something that we did intentionally, if that makes sense, is to find a solicitor who is local. Now, we haven't moved that far. We've only moved about 15-20 minutes away from where we were living before. So we went for a local solicitor, and that meant that we could drive the paperwork over there whenever we needed to, and just stuff like that, which meant that the whole process moved a lot quicker because we weren't having to wait for them to post stuff to us and then us to post it back and then post it back to us and do all of that. It also meant that had we had any problems, we actually didn't in the end. Our solicitor was phenomenal, but had we had any issues, we could have just gone to the offices and been like, hey, sort it out. Whereas if you go for a really big company and they have offices which are really long way away from you, you have a lot less kind of chivying power, if you like. And if you ask anyone, a lot of people will say the most stressful thing about house moving was just waiting on the solicitor all the time. So if you can get a solicitor that you can drive to and who's local to you, then do it, because honestly, that was one of the things that made our house buying process so much easier. When it comes to packing boxes, try not to buy any. Not only is it not great environmentally, but it's also so expensive. Cardboard boxes are like a ridiculous rip-off. We actually ended up just asking friends, and a good friend of ours actually works in a lab, so he has, you know, deliveries of test tubes and all that kind of stuff arriving pretty much daily, and so he had these really good sized boxes just sitting around waiting to go to the recycling. So he actually gave us a load of those, and then a couple of other people just gave us their boxes that they'd had deliveries in, and all of that kind of stuff. You can save yourself an insane amount of money. You help other people out because they don't have to get rid of all of their boxes, and like I said, it is so much better for the environment than just buying new ones every time. We actually didn't end up doing this, but I know quite a few people have gotten in touch with their local supermarket as well and just said, you know, have you got any boxes going spare? Because they have to flat pack so many boxes every single week, and they will be more than happy for you to take them off their hands. Another thing we did is that once we had the offer accepted on the house, so we knew that we were, you know, going to be moving at some point, we started keeping all of the boxes just from deliveries and stuff like that, and you'll be amazed at how quickly they can build up. And those little boxes are super, super handy, so don't just keep the big ones. Then when it comes to packing said boxes, resist the temptation to put really heavy stuff in the big boxes, or to just load up the big boxes with more and more and more heavy stuff until it just becomes impossible to lift. My little packing tip that I always give to basically anybody who asks is to put things like books and really heavy stuff in wheelie suitcases. It just makes it so much easier to transport them. Also, label all of your boxes, and just label them by room and also by floor, and think about when you're packing said boxes, which floor are they going to? Because if you've got to carry something up a couple of flights of stairs, you don't want it to be ridiculously heavy. Whereas if it's just going to the ground floor, then it doesn't matter so much. A couple of you can carry it a little way and it's no bother. Something that I started doing quite early on, and I'm really, really glad I did, was to start clearing stuff out before you move. And just, you know, your clothes, books, just random stuff you have around the house. Kitchen was a big place that we actually sold or donated a load of stuff. And don't throw it away. Do try and sell it. Facebook Marketplace, I'll get onto that in a second, but that is a beautiful place. eBay, all of that, give it to friends. But do that clearing out process before you move, because you don't want to move all this stuff into your new house and then be like, oh, we don't actually want this anymore, and then just end up selling it then because you've just had all the hassle of moving it from one place to another. So start clearing out. I mean, it's a good thing just to get into the habit of doing generally, but before you move, because then you'll find the unpacking process and the putting everything away will be so much easier and a lot more fun as well. When it comes to the few days or, you know, a week or so before you're going to be moving, start packing your essentials case. And by that, I mean, pretend that you're going away on a self-catering holiday for a week or so, and pack all of the things that you would need to live for a few days in one suitcase, and then put that into your car, because then when you move in, you will have those essentials right on hand and you're not going to be rifling through boxes desperately trying to find your pajamas. My mum and dad's biggest moving tip is always pack the tea and the coffee last, unpack it first. You want to make sure that people can have a hot drink when you arrive and that you can just kind of chill, have a second, because moving house is exhausting, and trust me, you are going to need many, many, many cups of tea. It's good stuff. Also, on the subject of moving day nutrition, make sure that you have a snack bag and make sure that you drink loads of water. Moving house is exhausting physically and emotionally, and you probably haven't slept that well, and you can get to the end of the day sort of A, just feeling completely shattered, and B, sort of feeling a bit ill because you're dehydrated, you're starving, and you don't really know what you're doing. So make sure that you have supplies for moving day, and make sure that you take care of yourself throughout the day. If at all possible as well, have some friends or family help you move. If you are using a removals company, then great, but if you're not, then it's just nice having that moral support and just that help. And obviously that goes both ways. You can then promise to help them when they move, or buy a takeaway and feed everybody at the end of the day. But having those people there can just make the whole process so much easier. We were really lucky that actually restrictions had just eased enough to allow us to have my parents come and help us move, and that just made all the difference in the world. Like I said, it's just, you know, another pair of hands, but also my dad very handily has a van, so that also helped and meant that we didn't have to hire a van or get removal people in or anything like that. So just, if you do have those people nearby to you who can help, then call on them, because it just, honestly, it makes the world of difference. Another thing that was kind of a luxury that we had, because we had a couple of weeks in between buying the house and, you know, getting the keys and everything, and then moving out of our flat, meant that we could paint the house before we moved in. And if this is at all possible, now I know often it isn't, because often everybody's kind of moving on the same day and you have to move out and in, and it's all a bit of a stressful experience, but if you can, decorate as much as possible before you move in, or at least decorate rooms before you unpack everything in them, because it honestly just makes life so much easier. Once all your stuff is in a room, decorating it becomes a much bigger job, and you also just have to be much more careful and all of that kind of stuff. So if you can paint beforehand, do, because that's definitely something that we were so grateful that we had the opportunity to do, because like I said, it just made our life so much easier. Okay, and then my last sort of little tip before we move into some of your questions is to kind of hold off on buying loads of stuff for your new house until you move in. Obviously, you need the essentials, but you only really work out how you're going to live in a space, how you're going to enjoy a space, how you're going to use a space until you're in it, if that makes sense. So just hold off a little bit. I know it can be really tempting just to buy everything, you get super excited, but that can often lead to you ending up with furniture that actually doesn't quite work for the space, or isn't quite what you wanted for it, and that's just, you know, a bit of a waste of money and a bit of a waste of time. Facebook Marketplace is a beautiful thing. We've actually ended up getting basically our biggest bits of furniture so far, other than the bed, from Facebook Marketplace. So we've gotten our sofa that I'm sat on now from Facebook Marketplace, we got our TV cabinet, and we got our dining table and chairs, and we have saved hundreds of pounds, and they are really good quality pieces of furniture that we probably wouldn't have been able to afford brand new. Obviously, you do have to be a little bit savvy and make sure that you go measure everything there, don't pay any money until you're absolutely happy. But honestly, most of the time, it's just good old ordinary people just selling on something that no longer fits their home. So always check Facebook Marketplace before you shell out for something brand new. Okay, so now I have a few little questions. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then come follow me, because, you know, it's a good time. And also, for most of my videos, if I do want to ask any questions, I will do it over on Instagram. It's just so much easier than trying to do it here on YouTube. So if you ever want to be kind of involved with any future videos, then come follow me on Instagram, and then yeah, it's much easier for you to do that. Okay, so first question is, how long did it take you to save for a deposit? It was about 2.5 to 3 years. Yeah, about 2.5 years, I'd say. So that was the combined incomes of both myself and my husband, and just putting a bit of money away every single month. We actually had a direct debit that came out of the account, like all our salary kind of money came into, and then it just automatically went into the deposit saving box, and that kind of meant that you didn't really, I mean, obviously you noticed it going, but it went out at the same time as our rent and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't a case of getting to the end of the month and then seeing how much you have left. I mean, that's just a savings tip in general. Don't do that. Make sure that you save as soon as your income comes in. But yeah, it took us about 2.5 years to save up. Oh, this is a really good one. Did you use a mortgage broker? Yes. But we used an online mortgage broker called Habito, not sponsored at all, but they were amazing, and they actually are free for you to use, but they take their commission from the bank that you go with, if that makes sense. So they find you a mortgage, and then they get their commission from that bank as a thank you for finding you as a customer. And they were amazing because they're completely online. They were really contactable, and they were just fab, because I'm self-employed, I'm a musician, and trying to find a mortgage in the midst of a global pandemic when your income has been completely slashed was obviously quite tricky. And we went through 2 banks by ourselves, and we got turned down by those because of my work situation. But then as soon as we went through Habito, it was super easy, and they found us a really good mortgage, and we were really happy. So yeah, I'll have them linked down below because they were amazing. And like I said, they're free for you to use, which is amazing because most mortgage brokers are like several £100s. So yeah, that's a good place you can save some money. Why did you choose to move out of the city? Lots of people seem to be doing this right now, and I can't wonder if they'll regret it post-pandemic. Good question. Very good question. So we used to live in Cardiff, and now we have moved sort of out a little way, and that was for a few reasons. The first one is that we're now a little bit closer to my husband's work, so when he's back in the office, that's really good. The second one was that you just get more for your money a little bit further out of the city. We basically were able to afford an extra bedroom by moving a bit further out, which was, you know, great, because a little bit of more space is always nice. I also grew up very much in the countryside, so I've always wanted to kind of get out to a little bit more greenery, and where our house is just a really nice spot where out of my living room window right now all I can see is trees, and that was something that for me was a massive bonus. And also we wanted a big enough garden to have a dog, so incoming. How long did the whole process take from putting in an offer to moving in? So we had our offer accepted. So we saw the house on the Saturday, and then we made an offer and had it accepted on the Monday. So it was a quick process because we were first-time buyers and the sellers of this house wanted to be able to move quite quickly. I think we were very attractive buyers to them because we could basically move in as soon as possible. The process did take a little bit longer than we were expecting, pretty much because it took us a little while to find a mortgage because, like I said, my work situation, pandemic, you know, not ideal. But yeah, so we had our offer accepted sort of mid-January, and then we moved in at the end of April. So what's that? Kind of it's about 3.5 months from beginning to end, and that's pretty quick. As house buying, moving processes go, I don't know anybody that's done it faster than that. So we were really lucky in that respect. How did you find your home? Rightmove, Zoopla, etc. So we found this on Rightmove. I had alerts set for the area that we were looking in and the type of house that we wanted. And then as soon as this one came up, I was like, it looks really nice. And messaged them pretty much straight away. So yeah, get on Rightmove. Zoopla is really good as well. Purple Bricks is a good one. That's quite nice. We did go and look at a house that we quite liked on there. Obviously, we didn't end up buying it in the end. But yeah, Rightmove was just really good. I just kind of found that they had the majority of stuff. If you are looking for a slightly more unusual property, then you might want to do a little bit more, you know, looking around and calling up of estate agents and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we just found this one on Rightmove, so it was super easy. One thing that made looking at houses much easier was that we really thought about what our non-negotiables were. So what did the house have to have for us to even consider moving in? And for us, that was a certain number of bedrooms, that was having a garden, and that was having side access for us to bring bikes and, you know, just walk around to the garden and stuff like that. And also we wanted to be able to have good walks and good cycle routes straight out of our door. Those were the things that we were like, if it doesn't have any one of these, then it is not the right house for us. And that just made the whole process of just refining our search down so much easier. So yeah, highly recommend that, and stick to them as well, because we have friends who moved and actually compromised on some of their non-negotiables, and now they're looking to move again. So yeah, find your non-negotiables, work out what they are, and then really stick to them. And that's it. That's everything that I could kind of think of, and those were all your questions. So I hope this has been really helpful. Like I said, if you have any more questions or anything else you want to know, just let me know and I will either just reply to you if it's in a comment, or I could even do a little part 2 to this if that would be helpful to you. And yeah, like I said, if you ever want to get involved with any videos like this in the future, come follow me on Instagram, because that's just where I ask all of the questions and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it would be so good to have you there. Have a lovely week, and I will see you guys in the next one.